everybody. All right, it is time to review for biological molecules. I know your quiz is coming up, so you guys are wanting to study a lot, which is good, I'm sure, but let's review. So let's begin. So we start with a slide about nutrients. Nutrients are chemicals that a body needs for growing, for repairing itself, and for respiration. So you need nutrients, the body needs it to grow, needs it to repair wounds if it cuts itself. If you get too many of those, it can lead to obesity. If you get too many nutrients, you can get a little fatter. Or if you get too little, you can become really thin. You begin to starve. Now, just as a little review here, nutrients play into one of our properties of life. And that property is the property of respiration. Remember, respiration is when we turn food into energy. Food into energy. All right, so now let's begin talking about the different biological molecules. I know that it's a little intimidating because it's a lot of vocabulary, but with a little bit of study, I promise that it'll make sense to you. Don't let these big words scare you. They're just words. So our three main nutrients that we need to remember here are carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. Now, all of them are organic because they all have the element carbon. We would call these organic molecules because they have the element carbon. Remember, carbon is the C on the periodic table. All right, those are our three nutrients. Let's look at each of those. We're going to start out with number one, carbohydrates. All right, carbohydrates. The main function of carbohydrates is that they are a source of energy. We use carbohydrates to move around. They're simple sugars. Carbohydrates are sugars. They give you energy, quick energy to move around and do things. You can find sugar or carbohydrates in lots of different foods. You can find them here in corn. You can find them in fruit and vegetables. You could find them in dairy products like milk and cheese and yogurt. You could find them in cereals and in nuts. You could even find sugar or carbohydrates in normal sugar. Alright, so here's the deal. A carbohydrate, let's say this is a carbohydrate. When your body digests this carbohydrate, it has to break it apart. Right now, this carbohydrate is too big for a body to deal with. So what happens is the body breaks a carbohydrate into small pieces. So each of these pieces has a name. Now you can see that my carbohydrate here is made up of many different things, or the same thing over and over again. So I'm going to take one of these things off. So I'm going to take one molecule, one part of the carbohydrate off, and this is a monosaccharide. A monosaccharide is one part of a carbohydrate. I take one part off. That one sugar is a carbohydrate or is a monosaccharide. This monosaccharide is one part of a carbohydrate. So we have a few examples of monosaccharides. We have glucose. This could be a glucose. We could call it fructose, or we could call it galactose. All of those are examples of monosaccharides. So we don't have to just break one off. If we look at our carbohydrate again, we could break two pieces off. See, now I have two pieces. If I break off two pieces of the carbohydrate, we call this a disaccharide. A disaccharide. Disaccharide means two sugars. So I have two. This was my original carbohydrate. If I could get it back together here. This is my original carbohydrate. I break off two pieces, and now I have a disaccharide. Disaccharide are two sugars. And you can find disaccharides in normal sugar. The sugar you have in the cafeteria. That is a disaccharide that we call sucrose. The sugar that's in milk is a disaccharide, and it is called lactose. So you can find a disaccharide in normal sugar or in milk products. And finally, we have a polysaccharide. So if we look at our carbohydrate here, we have our monosaccharides here all in a row that make up a whole carbohydrate. So if we wanted to name a carbohydrate that had 3 or more pieces, we call it a polysaccharide. So we could say this is a polysaccharide because it has 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Anything that has 3 or more sugar molecules is a polysaccharide. So this has 4 pieces. So we call it a polysaccharide. An example of polysaccharide is the starch. So starch here has 3, or technically 3 or more, and that makes it a polysaccharide. So polysaccharides, disaccharides, and monosaccharides are all carbohydrates. They're just different pieces of the whole. So here we have one carbohydrate. One piece of the carbohydrate is a monosaccharide. 2 pieces of the carbohydrate are a disaccharide. And 3 or more pieces are called a polysaccharide. Altogether, they give you a carbohydrate. All right, so let's move on from carbohydrates to something else that's super exciting, and those are lipids. Lipids serve a couple of functions. Lipids, like carbohydrates, are a source of energy, but they also provide a place for energy to be stored in fat. Lipids are fats and oils, so lipids provide a storage place for energy. They are also great insulation. They help keep us warm, especially during these long winters. You can find lipids in cheese, in butter, nuts, and in oils. Lipids are incredibly important because they serve these 3 functions that I was talking about: energy, storing energy, and insulating. Lipids, when you look at them really close, are made up of 2 parts that you need to know. The hydrophilic head, the part that likes water. Hydrophilic means water-loving. And the hydrophobic tail, the part that does not like water. It's afraid of water. Remember the L in hydrophilic? Think about it as the L in loving. Hydrophilic, the L, like, love. You remember maybe? So those are 2 parts of a lipid: hydrophilic head and hydrophobic tail. So lipids are called insulators. That means they help keep you warm. A lot of animals store up fat to help keep themselves warm over winter, and whales have a lot of fat or blubber to help keep them warm in the, for their whole life, because they swim in cold water. Lipids also protect your organs from impact because they make it safe in case they get hit. All right, so those are lipids. Our third molecule that we need to talk about is protein. So protein is important because it helps you grow and it helps repair cells. And you can find it in meat, fish, eggs, beans, nuts, lentils, and soya. Proteins are the main parts of your muscles. They're the main parts of your skin. They're the main parts of your ligaments, the parts that are in your body, and they're the main parts of your hair. Now we have different kinds of proteins. Some proteins help make chemical reactions happen faster in your body. We call those enzymes. Some proteins help in the immune system, and some proteins help send messages throughout the body, and we call those proteins hormones. All right, so if we look really close at a protein, we see that proteins are made up of amino acids. There's 20 different kinds of amino acids. Lots of amino acids together make a protein. So, for example, let's say this is a protein. We see a protein, it's a whole thing, right? But if we take a microscope and we zoom in on this protein, we see that the protein is made up of many different amino acids. If we zoom out, you can't see them. It looks like one big protein. But if we zoom in, we see that this protein is made up of many different amino acids. All right, so now let's talk about the other things that are going to be on the quiz. We're also going to talk about vitamins and minerals. Those are also important nutrients. Not as important as carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, but still important. So vitamins are needed in small amounts to keep you healthy. And there's two examples of vitamins that I gave you. First, I gave you the example of vitamin C. Vitamin C is used to help heal wounds. It also helps the immune system. When you're feeling sick, it's good to drink vitamin C because it helps your immune system. Remember, your immune system helps keep you healthy. So you can find vitamin C in citrus, like oranges and lemons here, and grapefruit. All great place to find vitamin C. You can also find vitamin C in leafy greens, like the salad bar at school. That salad bar has lots of green leaves, like spinach, that are really good for you and that have vitamin C. Now, if you don't get enough vitamin C, you can get the pirate disease called scurvy. Scurvy causes bleeding gums and swollen gums like you see here, and eventually can cause the loss of teeth. A lot of pirates had this disease because they could not get vitamin C while they were at sea. Right, vitamin D is the second vitamin I'd like you to remember. It helps keep bones healthy, makes the bones nice and strong and able to support your body. You can find these in eggs, fish, milk, and this is one of the few vitamins that your body can make. If you're out in the sun, your skin can make vitamin D. Without vitamin D, your bones become very easy to break. They have a tough time supporting you. So this is a normal skeleton, and this is a skeleton that is in need of vitamin D. Alright, so besides vitamins, our body also needs minerals. So these are inorganic molecules that you need to stay healthy. Things like calcium and iron, magnesium, potassium, and zinc are all minerals. And these minerals are just the same things you find in the periodic table. So we're going to talk about two of them. We're going to talk about iron. Iron is needed to have healthy blood cells. You can find it in meat, beans, and nuts. Iron lets your blood carry oxygen. Remember, oxygen is what we breathe in. But without iron, your body can't use this oxygen. Your blood carries the oxygen around your body, and the iron in the blood cells helps hold on to that oxygen. And without the iron, your body can't get that oxygen. So if you don't have enough iron, you have what's called anemia. People with this disease feel really tired and weak because the blood is not giving away the right amount of oxygen. It can't hold on to the blood. Now, our final mineral is calcium. Calcium's kind of like vitamin D. It's used to have healthy bones. It's used to have healthy teeth. It's also used for muscle contractions. It's used in, it's not used in, it is in cheese, eggs, milk, and leafy greens. Now, people who have calcium deficiency, that means they don't have enough calcium, have weak bones, like if you don't have enough vitamin D, and they have teeth that are not in good health. They also have what's called muscle spasms. And muscle spasms are if your body moves without you really controlling it. And that's because it doesn't have the right amount of calcium to work correctly. Alright, so that's everything. I know it's a lot. There's a lot of intimidating words, but I think you guys can memorize these words. I have faith in you. It'll take a little extra studying, but I wish you good luck and enjoy the 3-day weekend, everybody.